It is right around there. Now, Dallas, you're going to have to be careful.
An exciting moment from Alien, the outer space horror film that is setting box office records all across the United States. Alien, which I gotta admit scared me.
I gotta admit it scared me too.
Oh, all right. It's just one of 5 new films we'll be reviewing on sneak previews. 2 film critics discussing the latest movies in town. Now, the other guy who said he's scared is Roger Ebert, the film critic for the Chicago Sun-Times.
My fellow chicken on today's program is Gene Siskel, film critic of the Chicago Tribune. In addition to Alien, we'll also be seen in reviewing The Prisoner of Zenda, Peter Sellers' new comic version of the old adventure classic, St. Jack with Bingazar and the seamy underworld of Singapore, Battlestar Galactica, bringing interstellar warfare, but not very much else, from the TV series to the movie screen. And now Gene begins with a melodrama called The Promise.
Well, guess what I've got?
I can guess. I've seen it.
Okay. A love story between a perfectly healthy guy and...
A perfectly healthy girl.
No.
Not a chance.
No way.
Okay.
A very sick woman. As a matter of fact, screenwriters today don't know how to write strong, healthy female characters. Maybe they're afraid of today's women. Anyway, in the movie The Promise, Stephen Collins plays the heir to a great architectural fortune. His mother, Beatrice Straight, doesn't want him to marry the comparatively lower-class girl he's in love with.
This is the report of a private investigator I employed. Read this. When the girl was still a baby, her father was killed in prison. Her mother died an alcoholic 2 years later.
Tough lady. Soon after that showdown, the young man's girlfriend has her car accident. He's in the car, too. He goes into a coma, and she flies through the windshield, virtually destroying her face. His mother then hits on a cruel scheme.
It's beginning to sound like a soap opera.
This is ridiculous. She'll pay to have the girl's face reconstructed, but only if she skips town, goes to San Francisco, and never sees her son again.
This is ridiculous.
Wait. Then the mother tells her son that after he comes out of his coma, she tells him that his girlfriend has died in the car crash.
But what happens then?
Well, wouldn't you know it, they run into each other almost immediately in San Francisco.
But then...
He doesn't know it's his old girlfriend with a new face. He just knows that she's a photographer whose work he wants to buy. But obviously, she still cares for him. This is the stuff of which soap operas are made. You want to pay $3 or $4 to see a story no different from what you can get on TV for free? Then you're welcome to The Promise. It's thoroughly predictable, thoroughly cornball.
I don't think it's as good as what you can get on TV for free. For one thing, they put a score underneath it, and this material really required the organ music, you know, every once in a while. She looks in the mirror, it's her new face, she holds the hand of the doctor who rebuilt her and gave her a new life, the evil mother, and this guy, this nerd, Stephen Collins, who goes through the movie, he's standing right there. I mean, I was seeing the movie for the first time, and I knew it was the same girl. You know, he was engaged to be married to her, and he doesn't catch on. He meets her about a dozen times. There's something familiar, there's something haunting about your photographs.
Same, everything's same except this face, right, and they don't get it. And that's why the film falls down, just on the pure logic of it. One nice thing, I like this actress a lot. I think that she
Kathleen Quinlan.
Yeah, she has a good, she was good in I Never Promised You a Rose Garden, but again, she's playing these cripples and horribly hurt women. I'd like to see what she could do with a part of somebody who's whole, you know?
She got a couple movies coming out this fall, I think. Anyway, Kathleen Quinlan, a name to remember. Now for something completely different. This movie has nothing to do with the other movie. For that, we could give thanks if it were a good one, but it's another bad one. It's Peter Sellers, and he's never happier than when he's playing 2 or 3 or 4 roles in the same movie. I think his all-time record was 6 in The Mouse That Roared. Well, in The Prisoner of Zenda, he only plays 2, which is only 1 too many. It's about a common English handsome cab driver who looks uncommonly like the king of Ruritania. The coachman doesn't know he looks like the king, and that causes him all sorts of trouble when he arrives in Ruritania. Well, that's kind of a cute moment. Would you believe it's one of the high points? I mean, this is a movie that gets its laugh by people falling into mud puddles. Prisoner of Zenda is a big, expensive production and a very, very tired one. It grinds out jokes we've all seen or heard a dozen times, and Sellers has played this same kind of role so many times before that his disguises come from the Inspector Clouseau movies, the costumes seem to come from the Three Musketeers or the Four Musketeers or the Fifth Musketeer. Even the damsels are in the same old distress.
Well, I think you hit it exactly right. It is tired. This film is slow. It doesn't want to get finished. I mean, it has been made by someone who has tired blood. It's not, it's dead. I don't know what's wrong.
I think you've said it, Gene. You're right. There must be a cottage industry over in England to turn out these films. I mean, a couple of months ago we saw The Fifth Musketeer. Beau Bridges played two roles. He was the commoner and then he was the king. Mistaken identity. The same movie. The same dungeons. The same drawbridges going up and down. The same candles being cut by the same swords. I mean, they must be saving on props over there.
Yeah. I think what's going on is that Peter Sellers has had big success with these Pink Panther movies, and somehow they think all that he has to do is give a funny accent, and that is going to warrant the making of a motion picture. It doesn't work this time.
You're right.
Well, now finally, a good film, a very fine film. Our next movie was directed by Peter Bogdanovich, the film critic turned filmmaker who's had an up, 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 and then down, down, down film career. 3 hits, followed by 3 flops. The Last Picture Show, What's Up, Doc, and Paper Moon are some of his hits that you've probably seen. Bogdanovich's new film is an interesting character study of an American in Singapore during the early 70s. Ben Gazzara plays Jack Flowers, who operates a brothel. Living and working in a scuzzy world, Jack still has some decent qualities. He has empathy for 3 young American soldiers who visit Singapore for some relaxation before going back to fight the Vietnam War.
Yankee, go home.
Hey, man, where you from?
Buffalo. How about you, Red?
Houston, Memphis, Wichita Falls.
2 men from Texas. How do you stand them?
It ain't easy.
Where you stationed?
Your name?
Rough. Yeah.
Been there?
No, I'm a little too old. Korea.
My old man was in Korea. Got a couple of fingers blown off.
Huh? Well, how long you boys gonna be here?
Going to Bangkok tomorrow. R&R. 1 whole week.
Oh, you're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. Gotta get yourself a Thai massage. You know what that is?
How's that?
Well, that's where 2 women soap themselves up. One works the front, the other works the back. You're a sandwich. Now let me hold you up, boys. Have
Later.
fun.
See ya.
One of the other men that Jack befriends in the movie is an Englishman who comes to Singapore once a year for some business and for some relaxation of his own. One night in a tattoo parlor, they get drunk together. Jack has empathy for this guy, too. He seems to take on lost souls. I guess that's why they call him Saint Jack.
You know how Singapore got its name, William? Well, there was nothing but jungle, you know.
Yeah.
Nobody ever crossed over. Then one day, this Hindu prince, he rose over with a big bunch of people, a hunting party, you know. They're gonna shoot some deer, bows and arrows, all that. And they traipse around a while, and wait a minute, what do they spot? What? A tiger. Then they spot another tiger. And then some more tigers. They're up and tigers. So they run. They run like hell, you know. They hop back in their boats, they row away, and the prince says, boy, that place is something. I'm gonna name it. I'm gonna call it Singapura, Lion City. Lion City!
Oh, I thought you said they were tigers.
Well, that's right. That's right. That's the point of the story, William. The dummy couldn't tell a tiger from the lion.
That's very funny.
So what can you expect? A place that got started like that.
Right.
Well, what they're talking about isn't as important as the mood of that scene. He's being tattooed, Ben Gazzara is, while that whole scene is going on. Jack Flowers, his character, is a decent sort of a guy in an amoral world at Singapore. He's one of the small businessmen making a living off the Vietnam War. His is an ugly profession in an ugly world. So you really can't call Jack a saint, but some of the things that he does are saintly. And that may be what this film is really saying. In a moral world, if you can't be a saint, at least try to be saintly. St. Jack is a fine, sophisticated film. You agree?
More than agree. I think it's really a great film. I think it's one of the films that I'm happy I saw this year. And one of the things I liked about it was how completely Bogdanovich and Gazzara inhabit this world of Singapore. Usually an American filmmaker goes over to some exotic spot like Singapore or Hong Kong. You see two rickshaws go past, somebody hits a gong, and they're inside the Hilton Hotel, right, selling cocaine or something. In this movie, Gazzara is actually there on the streets. It's shot on location.
Yeah.
You get a real feeling for the place and for the time. And what a performance.
Yeah.
I mean, given his very unsavory profession, the fact is that this guy, Jack Flowers, is kind of a student of human nature. He's wise. He knows what people's weaknesses are. He has sympathy for them. He's a cynic, and yet he's a sweet, kind of decent cynic, if that makes any sort of sense. It's a very complicated performance.
One thing that I like about this picture is that it is so much different from the routine American movie we seem to be getting now, which is full of spaceships, teenagers, and rock music. This film has some substance to it. You think about it. You can discuss whether or not he's a good guy, or because after all, he is running a whorehouse. I mean, it's not working, you know, exactly in a wonderful profession. So I think that there's a lot to think about in this picture. I think it works.
It's a very thoughtful adult picture. You might even call it kind of a grown-up Casablanca.
Yeah.
In a way. And
Very
now you
good.
mentioned spaceships. We're back to spaceships again. I'm sorry,
Okay.
Gene, but it's the way it goes. Two of the most successful genres of the last 5 years have been science fiction and horror films, and Alien is both. It's a combination of some of the best space hardware since Star Wars and the most gruesome bug-eyed monster since the creature from the Black Lagoon. The movie begins aboard a gigantic intergalactic freighter where the crew is in suspended animation until the onboard computer awakens them for an emergency. The captain explains why their mission has been changed.
Well, some of you may have figured out we're not home yet. We're only halfway there.
What?
Mother's interrupted the course of our journey.
Why?
Yeah. She's programmed to do that should certain conditions arise. They have.
Like what?
Seems she has intercepted a transmission of unknown origin. She got us up to check it out.
A transmission? Out here?
Yeah.
What kind of a transmission?
Acoustical beacon. It repeats at intervals of 12 seconds.
SOS.
I don't know.
Human.
Unknown.
So what? We're obligated under section.
I hate to bring this up, but this is a commercial ship, not a rescue ship.
Right.
And it's not my contract to do this kind of duty. And what about the money? If you want to give me some money to do, I'd be happy to oblige.
Man's right.
Let's go with the bonus situation. We never
Can we
talk about the bonus
Sorry,
situation.
can I say something?
Let's talk about the bonus situation.
There is a clause in the contract which specifically states any systematized transmission indicating a possible intelligent origin must be investigated.
I don't want to hear
We
it.
don't know that's intelligent.
I want to go home and party.
Parker, will you just listen to the man?
On penalty of total forfeiture of shares. Money.
You got that?
Yeah.
All right, we're going in.
Yeah.
I think Star Wars kind of pioneered that idea that a spaceship, instead of being all kind of perfect and sterile like the one in 2001, would look more like a gut bucket, like that kind of a tramp freighter, and there's the crew on board. The beacon signal comes from a nearby unexplored planet anyway, and so space regulations require them to land, and they do in one of the movie's really most inspired scenes. They explore a terrifying planetary landscape, they discover an ancient alien spaceship, and they work themselves into a very tight spot while their discoveries are monitored by television back on board.
Ash, can you see this?
Yes, I can. I've never seen anything like it.
You get a wonderful sense there of something that might have been waiting there a long time for somebody to find it. Anyway, they go on board that mysterious ship, and they wind up bringing back an extremely unwelcome guest on board their own ship, an alien creature that's the movie's most original invention. Now, I don't want to give away too much. I'm not giving away too much when I say it's kind of a cross between a squid and a spider and the Thing, and it's not real great to look at because its body is covered with extraterrestrial intestines, and the humans battle for survival. The alien oozes around the ship like a mucous membrane from outer space, and the movie is one of the scariest old-fashioned space operas I can remember.
Well, it did scare me, too. I looked away, and I was yelling with, like, a few other people, it's going to hit them on the floor, it's going to come from the ceiling.
It's in the next row, it's behind me in the theater. Right.
But I want to say that, you know, strip away all the beautiful scenery and the evocative weirdness of the picture. What we really have here is basically the haunted house film, only instead of a wild creature running around in a haunted house, we got a wild creature running around in a spaceship. And so this is not the greatest science fiction film ever made, even though it seems to be doing very well across the country.
Well, I think the combination of horror and science fiction is a very appealing one right now, very commercial. There is one moment, though, when the film does transcend just that horror, haunted spaceship sort of thing, and that's in this scene we just saw. As it goes on a little bit further, they enter that spaceship, they go inside, they find the alien pilot all desiccated from his voyage that might have taken place millions of years ago, and then they go into that big, enormous cavern down below and what they find there and so forth. Gives you a real sense, I mean, from the point of view of art direction and everything else, that this could have been an alien ship. It's not just another TV or movie creation.
Yeah, one consumer point. A lot of young people are probably going to want to see this picture. They love horror films. This one's pretty bloody. It is pretty violent, and I think a lot of people, adults and kids, are going to be turned off and maybe frightened too much by it. So for young kids, certainly, this is not a picture to go see.
It's R-rated.
Yeah, for a reason.
Yeah, there's a reason for it.
Okay. The craze now for outer space adventure films is so strong, and it's going to get stronger because of Alien, that films originally made for TV that have something to do with space are now being released in movie theaters, all in an effort to satisfy the enormous hunger in kids for another Star Wars-type adventure. Recently, we reviewed Buck Rogers in the 25th Century, which was originally made for TV. Now comes Battlestar Galactica, which, and this is even more outrageous, it already has been on TV in a slightly altered form. The movie version has a souped-up soundtrack, but it's virtually identical to the 3-hour TV pilot for the recently canceled series Battlestar Galactica. Lauren Green and a bunch of leaders of Earthling types from outer space, they debate on whether they should make friends in peace with some of their old adversaries, the evil Cylons.
Mr. President, a wall of unidentified craft is closing in on the fleet, possibly a Cylon welcoming committee. Sir, may I suggest we launch a welcoming committee of our own?
My friend, we are on a peace mission. The first peace man has known in 1,000 years.
Well, it wouldn't be much of a show if peace were maintained, would it? The Cylons launch a surprise attack, and Lauren Green and company strike back.
Launch fighters. All batteries commence fire.
All fire control stations manned and operational.
That's really dead. You know, all the explosions look a lot alike there. Originally made for TV, Battlestar Galactica really looks cheap when it's blown up 50 or 100 times its original TV screen size. The same thing applies here as with The Promise. Why pay money for what you have already seen for free on TV? I don't get it.
The ads have a really strange phrase. They call it the original theatrical version of the television film.
They're just dissembling there, and they're trying to fool kids, I think.
I think so. And also, of course, all the ads emphasize it's in sense-around. And is it ever in sense-around? The dialogue is so dumb that at every possible moment they go to this enormous roaring, trembling vibration throughout the theater. I walked into the theater, the jujubes and the candy counter were dancing around. I mean, everything is vibrating. Don't go with a headache or an upset stomach.
Go to watch the dancing jujubes. It's more exciting. Also, these a bunch of old men who just talk in these biblical phrases. This is a pretty worthless film.
I'm going to send my firstborn son out to battle and so forth and so on, and then they're driving around on these little toys on strings and so forth. It's a total, complete ripoff.
Easy, easy. Must have just seen Battlestar Galactica. Yes, it's Spot the Wonder Dog. That means it's time for Dog of the Week, where Roger and I pick the week's worst movies.
Right you are, Gene. And my dog this week is 90 minutes of bewildering boredom, followed by 15 minutes of nauseating child monsters. It's called The Brood. Oliver Reed stars as a weird scientist who runs something called the Institute for Psychoplasmics.
Oh.
His patients create these bodies outside of themselves and control them through sheer mind power. And his sickest patient, Samantha Egger, has started giving birth to inhuman little clones. They're disgusting little demons, run around in snowsuits and hammer first-grade teachers to death.
Ugh.
Well, she's given birth to about a dozen of these creatures before her husband catches on. He doesn't catch on real quick. And then there's a bloody and a reprehensible conclusion. Why do so many horror movies take kids and make them into monsters? Maybe it's because they're too small to fight back.
A good point. Now, my dog this week is an Anthony Quinn picture. Guess which one?
I'm guessing.
Yeah, it's not easy. He's made a lot of bad pictures lately. This one's The Passage, a creaky old World War II story with Quinn as a French mountain guide leading a German scientist and his family through the Pyrenees Mountains away from Nazi soldiers. The action is excruciatingly slow-paced for an adventure film. Now watch how slow this scene is.
That is the mountain.
Yes, you're right. That is the mountain. We get a shot of the mountain. A shot of the people looking at the mountain. A shot of the mountain. A shot of the people looking at the mountain. More people looking at the mountain. And now the mountain again. Come on, somebody. Even the mountain. Move. A few weeks ago, I knocked Sophia Loren for making dumb action pictures that traded on her once valid reputation as a fine actress. I'd like to give Anthony Quinn a similar shot this time. He hasn't been able to improve or even come close to matching his Zorba the Greek role, and he made that picture 15 years ago.
So much for the dogs this week. Let's take another look at the major movies on the program. The Promise, rated PG, was an overwrought melodrama about two lovers who were strangers when they met again. Gene and I both voted no. That means we can't recommend that you see it. We also both said no to The Prisoner of Zenda, in which Peter Sellers played a dual role that maybe should have been divided by two. We both admired Peter Bogdanovich's St. Jack with its wonderfully crafted performance by Ben Gazzara. Two big yes votes for that one. Alien, the R-rated science fiction thriller with the creepiest monster in years, also got 2 yes votes, but Battlestar Galactica, a feature based on last season's big-budget TV series, was lost in space as far as we were concerned. So congratulations, Gene. For once, we both agreed on all 5 movies on the program.
You know, I knew finally you would eventually see the light. That's it for the movies on this week's show. Next on Sneak Previews, we'll review Players, Ally McGraw's new movie in which she romances a professional tennis player. And also, Butch and Sundance, The Early Days, a new film with new stars about what happened in the years before Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Until then, see you at the movies.
Funding for this program is provided by this station and by other public television stations.